Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Senator Panfilo Ping Lacson. Senator Lacson, welcome to the source. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Pinky, good morning, and good morning as well to the viewers.
So let's start with the West Philippine Sea, the issue on the West Philippine Sea. Ang sabi po ni Pangulo, he spoke last night, and he said the only way to really take back the West Philippine Sea is actually through force. In his words, ang sabi niya, you know the cost of war, as we played a while ago, and if we go there and assert jurisdiction, it will be bloody. It will result in violence that we cannot maybe win. Do you agree?
Pinky, he's the leader of our country, and he's the commander-in-chief of all armed forces. And he can think of anything and speak about anything except surrender. Remember, we have an arbitral ruling in our favor, and it's permanent. Although it's unenforceable, there are so many things to think about except surrender. No? We cannot wave the white flag, so to speak.
Do you think he's surrendering or raising the white flag?
Well, that's the implication, because what message could it send to the armed forces, and especially to China, no? When we say we cannot avoid bloodshed? So that's inaction. Yes, we can, because he said we cannot retake without resorting to bloodshed. But, you know, the Secretary of National Defense, no less, and even the Secretary of Foreign Affairs have spoken, and even the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Ang sabi nila, we can build strong alliances with other countries, especially the Western countries and even the Western Pacific region, no? Australia, Japan, maraming paraan. But to speak of, you know, parang ang implication, wala tayong gagawin, I think that's sending a wrong message.
And how do you feel that the president spoke that way and you interpret it in a way that he's raising the white flag? How do you feel as a senator, our position now dito sa West Philippine Sea? It's as if, paano ho ba, Senator Ping, pwede na lang ho pumunta yung mga Chinese boats, Chinese militia in the West Philippine Sea because of what the president said?
That's actually what's happening on the ground, no? or in the high seas. Kasi talagang inoccupy nila. The latest, yun yung Julian na Philippine Reef. Yung nauna, di ba, yung Scarborough and then Panatag, and now this is third major incursion. So kung wala talaga tayong gagawin at sasabihin natin, no, we cannot do anything, but you know, shed blood when we retake or try to retake those shoals, those territories, then ang implication, I'm not saying that he's actually raising the red flag, but that's the implication. And if the members of the officers and men of the armed forces would take it that way, then it could be, you know, disastrous on the Philippine on Philippine sovereignty.
So let's talk about that. He's accepting the current setup. Sabi po ni Pangulo, sabi niya, the West Philippine Sea is ours, and China says it's actually theirs. Just as long, sabi ni Pangulo, as the fishermen, the Philippine Navy, the BFAR, and the Coast Guard can get in and out of the disputed waters, he's okay with that particular setup. Are you okay with that particular setup?
Tama naman yun, Pinky, kasi remember, EEC ito eh. Ang pag-aari natin, yung ilalim, di ba? And yung pwede namang mag-fishing, yung mga countries. Ang problema, yung mismong mga mangingisda natin, you know, they're losing a lot because they themselves cannot fish anymore because they're being driven away by small boats or big boats by China.
Right. But that's the implication, sir. So if that is the setup, nandun po yung kanilang mga dambuhalang barko, yung atin po halos hindi makapasok, nauubusan ho tayo, hindi ba? And if we talk about the West Philippine Sea, that's really what? Under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, that it really looks into the 200 nautical miles. For example, let's just put the situation here in place. Doon po sa Julian Felipe Reef, China was saying that it's traditional fishing. But hindi ho ba, dahil nandun po yun, bahagi po yun ng ating exclusive economic zone, hindi ho ba dapat tayo lang ang pwedeng mangisda doon sa lugar na yon?
Well, exclusive economic zone, ano? Ang ibig sabihin, underneath the water, sa atin yun yung mga resources. And that would include yung corals, yung fish, yung mga taklobo and everything else, ano? So kung isusurrender natin yon and we just allow the Chinese to just drive away our fishermen, hindi naman natin din pinagbabawalan na mangisda rin yung mga ibang neighboring countries. Di ba? Parang common fishing ground yan eh. But to allow our fishermen to lose the right or the right to fish in those waters, yun ang problema.
Yung Mutual Defense Treaty, Senator Lacson, ang sabi po ni Pangulo, that only covers the Philippines being protected by the US if the Philippines is being attacked. However, he says it does not cover if the Philippines is actually the one who initiates a war. Tama ho ba to? Is that the correct interpretation under the Mutual Defense Treaty?
Yes, tama yon. Kasi any attack on a vessel, no, government vessel, on either party, the United States or the Philippines, deemed as an attack on the other party. Yun ang implication ng Mutual Defense Treaty. And the United States, they're more than willing to really assist by way of maintaining the balance of power. Yun lang naman ang hinihingi natin to avoid war, ano? Because we cannot really afford a third world war on a massive scale. So maraming paraan at maraming pwedeng isipin paraan. Pero coming from the Commander-in-Chief himself, na we cannot do anything, we cannot retake because without resorting to bloodshed, para may mga implications yung sinasabi ko doon sa kanyang statement, being the leader of the country.
So
it could send the wrong message. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but what should we do? I mean, when you look at it, are diplomatic protests enough? Sending the Navy, sending BR boats, and also the Coast Guard. Do you think that is enough?
Well, yung diplomatic protest, Pinky, is just a point of information. It has gone yung resulta ng mga diplomatic protest natin, inignore naman ng China. So we could think of some other means to protect our waters. Isa na nga yun because we have international agreements with other countries and we can build stronger alliances with those countries, even those not covered by international agreements, like yung mga potential or mga traditional na allies natin. Japan, for example, is a natural ally because meron ding issue with China in Japan. And I heard that the United States and Japan have already expressed their willingness to build much stronger alliances with the Philippines. So let's work along that line. Hindi yung parang don't feel that we're alone because we really cannot win a war against China because population-wise, 1/10 lang tayo, less than 1/10 ng population ng China. And military-wise, talagang no contest. But why would we sulk in a corner, and think along that line when there are other countries, stronger countries, even Europe, they're willing to assist us through the EU. So yun lang naman ang point ko, Pinky. And the least that the president can do perhaps is to just not talk about yung ganong or making statements to a point na parang merong implikasyon nga ng surrender.
Okay.
Or resignation for that matter.
Senator, there are also other recommendations such as maglagay po tayo ng barko doon in and around the Julian Felipe Reef, like what we did in Ayungin Shoal, that's one. Or also there was an international expert who had suggested that ang dami pa pong areas doon na unoccupied. We can start building even just a small outpost. Do you agree that that needs to be done in order to protect our exclusive economic zone?
Well, another thing is we can do some joint military exercises with other countries, like the United States. Kasi meron na tayo existing BFA. So why don't we harness yung ganong opportunity to have, or more frequent, for that matter, joint military exercise or exercises with the United States. along with other countries perhaps, kasi Australia, meron din tayong
Yeah.
SOPA. So pwede naman yon. Pero, we cannot really stand alone in a situation like this. But, ang problema kasi, nag-shift yung more independent yung naging foreign policy under President Duterte. And that's good. No? But are we really imposing an independent foreign policy? Parang hindi rin, because we're more leaned towards China. Yun ang naging problema. And while we're treating China as our friend, as our ally, parang hindi naman reciprocated properly.
Do you think China is being a friend to the Philippines?
Yun nga, sabi ko, hindi naman properly reciprocated or fairly reciprocated. Tayo, masyado tayong friendly, but these incursions and even resorting to some arrogant pronouncements against our fishermen, our Coast Guard, and even our country itself, yun ang problema. So parang, di ba, symbiotic dapat yan eh. When we treat somebody as a friend, we expect that we should be treated the same way.
So are we getting the raw end of the deal?
Well, you can say that, Pinky, kasi sa nangyayari, tuloy-tuloy lang yung incursions. Hihintayin pa ba natin na yung ilang major islands? Remember, yung area na yan, very rich in mineral and natural resources. Ang wealth na nasa ilalim niyan, unimaginable, quoting Senator Enrile, because when I talked to him once, ang sabi niya, we're talking hundreds of billions of barrels of natural gas and oil. So there you go, Pinky.
Actually, that's what the president also said, Senator Ping kagabi. Ang sabi po niya, while he is accepting the current setup, basta po makapasok labas ang ating fishermen, ang ating Navy, Coast Guard, he said that, but when they start to drill oil and minerals, that's the time, he said, he will actually act on it. If this happens, he says, we will drill our oil there. What I want to ask you first, before you react to that, is that, do you even think those Chinese boats numbering 200, naging 77, naging 40-something, and last video coming from the Coast Guard, there were 6, no, in Ayungin Shoal, but that was just about 4 days ago. Do you think they were just really fishing and they were seeking shelter, or they were doing something else?
200 vessels, militia. I don't think they're seeking shelter. Tsaka sabi naman ni Secretary Lorenzana, wala namang bagyo doon, fair weather naman. So ano yung i-seek shelter ng mga Chinese boats? And numbering 200, come on, we were not born yesterday, Pinky. Alam naman natin kung ano yung ginagawa nila. They're building structures there. The same way that they built structures in Panatag Shoal and in Scarborough Shoal.
And because of this stand of the president, no, even prior to him speaking about it last night, na sinasabi niyo, it's almost an implication that we are surrendering or wala tayong magawa.